Who cares about sustainability, Ben? Let me have some
We
fun.
do.
Apparently Dele Alli has been linked with a move to Wrexham.
Oh.
Danny Rohl. Could he even go there? Could it happen?
If they lose badly.
Somehow I'm still on the show.
Go on.
Hello guys and welcome back to The Sportsman Untitled. I'm delighted to be joined this week by Benjamin Bloom and Conor McGilligan. It might be the international break, but there's a lot of championship stories and action for us to look forward to. We're going to start by looking at Sheffield United because there's been a little bit of talk, Ben, over the international break. Some loose links linking a certain Danny Rohl to the Sheffield United job. And we should point out Ruben Selles is still in the job and he doesn't look likely to lose his job much soon. But Danny Rohl, could he even go there? Could it happen?
Oh, it could happen. We haven't reached the graveyard shift yet, have we? That's international break number 2 in October, where we really expect to see a lot of sackings. Look, stranger things have happened. I am an Ipswich Town fan, and we very unsuccessfully took Paul Lambert as manager. I dare say Danny Rohl might do a better job at Sheffield United, but you mentioned it in quite a few of the shows. He's there. He's available. Someone will take him. Probably not Sheffield United.
Who's going to blink first? That's one of the questions, I think, with Danny Rohl available. Sheffield United obviously really struggling right now. Conor, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, the squad now as well, how it's been assembled it's just superb, isn't it? There's an argument it's up there with the squad last season. It's probably better. I think McGuinness coming in. I think when you look at Tanganga as well, Ben Godfrey, you've got a side there of which you're looking at any coach coming in and they've got to get that side promoted. That's the bottom base aim, really. So when you're looking at Ruben Selles, there's a lot of pressure on him. No wins in 4. That result against Borough was a poor performance. It should have been
Ipswich away Friday.
Ipswich away, yeah, huge game coming up, 8 p.m. But yeah, it felt like he had to get something from that. So Ipswich coming up, huge game, pressure's on. So yeah, Sheffield United could blink first.
How long do you think he gets though? Next international break, is Ben right?
No, I think it very much depends on this Ipswich game. If they go to Ipswich now and Ipswich really hurt them badly, especially after Ipswich's start, which hasn't been great, especially at Portman Road, obviously just coming off the back of that 2-2 against Derby County. If they lose badly, I think there could be a decision there.
Just no manager in any job. I mean, what is the number? Is it 6, 7? No manager, whoever they are, can countenance 6, 7 consecutive defeats, especially not in their first 6, 7 games. So yeah, pressure's on.
We will be previewing the Sheffield United Ipswich game later on. Stick around to hear our score predictions on that game. We've got to talk also about ticket prices because Birmingham fans have been getting quite frustrated. They're in a bit of uproar because Coventry are charging them £45 for away tickets for the game in a couple of weeks' time. But in terms of ticket prices, what's the level? Because in the Premier League we see it capped at £30 for away fans, which is fair, I think, but Championship clubs need the money a bit more, so it's a bit of a tough one, isn't it?
Well, I like it when you see the deals done, where one club says to the other, right, we'll charge you 20 quid, you charge us 20 quid. I can see it from both sides. The clubs are under pressure from the fans to pay massive wages and buy loads of players, and we still like to think it's the kind of working class game that anyone can go to on their, normal working salary, but it's really not anymore. So I get it from the club's point of view, but it's a lot of money to go if you're a one-off fan. I assume that's the price.
That's the thing. So in the Championship, home teams can only charge what they're charging their own fans for away fans. So for this specific incident, Coventry fans are getting charged £45 if they don't have a season ticket for the Birmingham home game, and it's like 30 quid if you're under 18, which is just absolute insanity. But it's probably going to be a sellout, and unfortunately, if people pay the prices, then the prices aren't going to come down.
Got to pay for that stadium now, they own it as well, haven't they?
So we'll see. Sticking with Conor, Frank Lampard's been loosely linked with the West Ham job in the Premier League. One of his former clubs, Graham Potter, in there at the minute. What do you think of this?
Doesn't really make a lot of sense, does it? I don't think he's favoured at all at West Ham as well after the exit to Chelsea all those years ago. But yeah, with Potter, I think there's going to have to be a little bit of an established Premier League name potentially coming in to help them survive, or maybe a little bit more of an innovative coach from the continent. I can't see Frank Lampard going to West Ham. It doesn't make a lot of sense. If West Ham's main objective is to survive in the Premier League, do you want to put
How different would that be to Coventry's objective if he got promoted with Coventry anyway? What are you gaining?
Yeah, one of the strongest sides as well in the Championship currently with the roster, and going into a bit of a beaten up West Ham United side and the objective being survival. Not for me.
Yeah, I can't see it happening either. I think he's got quite a good thing going at Coventry right now.
And surely he learned from leaving a good thing at Derby. I know that Chelsea's different for him, but yeah.
I don't know how much he enjoyed the relegation battle at Everton as well, which is worth considering, his reputation.
No one enjoys a relegation, except Big Sam maybe.
Kept them up though. Kept them
up. True. Yeah.
So maybe West Ham might go for him, but again, just speculation at the minute. What I do want to touch on is the deadline day signings, because last week we did a top 10 transfers of the Championship summer and we recorded it on deadline, so there were a few transfers of course that we missed. Number one being, I think, David Strelec. Conor, I'll come to you on this one, to Borough. I mean, he scored an absolute wonder goal against Germany in this international break, and Borough fans seem unbelievably excited about him.
Yeah, building a bit of a decent squad, aren't they? Naipan as well coming in, one of the top 10 wonder kids in world football at the minute, obviously from City. I think they made some really intelligent signings as well. Matt Targett, Alan Brown, Callum Britton to obviously fit that Rob Edwards style of football. Really smart acquisitions across the board. Can't profess to know that much about Strelec, but when you're seeing that technical level, to be able to do that against one of the best nations in world football, you've got to think to yourself, well, could this be an acquisition for 7.5 million that Borough have made that could effectively see them up, 15 to 20 goals. That's what they'll be looking at with that sort of investment. Is that your Latte Lath eventual replacement?
I was going to say, is it Akpom or is it Alfonso Alves or Assomba Longa or whatever? I know what the Borough fans are going to want.
It's 30 goals in 56 appearances he got for Slovan Bratislava though, and if he can replicate anything like that and add that into this Borough team.
There's been some sort of high-profile signings who you're kind of looking at with Strelec, and you're looking at Fiskgarden is another one, isn't it, at Norwich, where you're kind of looking at them with Premier League clubs interested, and those clubs have been able to get them for a snippet as well.
It's great for the Championship,
brilliant for the
Conor, isn't it? If you look at them as like the B leagues in Europe, those players, like my route into England, into a Championship club, and if you're a Borough fan or a Norwich fan with those two particular deals, you want them to come in, smash in the goals, and it's ridiculous now. You score 15 goals and you're under 25, your value is, 10 million plus like that. So, yeah, fingers crossed for him at Borough.
You also know that the Premier League clubs are really looking at the Championship now. West Ham, there's always openings there, isn't there? It feels like, obviously, the 3 promoted clubs, Crystal Palace. So there's a real upturn at the minute, it feels, in Championship quality. So, yeah, good move.
There are a couple of deals that Leicester did as well that kind of went under the radar for me. Jordan James and Aaron Ramsey I want to talk about, Ben. In fact, Conor, I'll come to you because these boys could be replacements for a man Leeds were quite hotly linked with. So I'll throw it over to you first.
Yeah, obviously there's the conversation that both of them will effectively replace Bilal El Khanous, when obviously with Aaron Ramsey's that level of experience but professionalism as well, and I think at the Championship he'll be able to acclimatise to it pretty seamlessly. Jordan James, we're all very aware of, combative midfielder as well, who can play, in my opinion, in multiple positions in either a 4 or a 3. But El Khanous is, very, very special. I always thought in that number 8, in that 10 as well, can work in both, can work in the half space as well, good with both feet. So, obviously the notes that we've got down, does Jordan James and Aaron Ramsey replace El Khanous? I think it's very different, but together, obviously they might be able to replicate some sort of output.
Over to you, Ben, on this one as well, because Leicester have been slow movers in the transfer window until really deadline day.
Well, they've had to be, haven't they? Because we don't know what's coming down the pike, and I think it tells us a lot that they've not spent big fees and they've gone in on late loans. And Leicester were having a lovely old time last time doing Winks early and Mavididi and Hermansen, which, to be fair, were all great signings. And this time it makes a lot of sense to be doing this. And it looks like they've cleared the decks, because we talked about, is there actually going to be another breach for the next 3-year rolling period? And surely they've fixed that up now, and they're good signings. And I go back to what I call the Kieran Dyer paradigm, which I did discuss with the great Kieran Dyer, of the power of numbers as opposed to one player. Because when Kieran Dyer was sold from Ipswich, they signed Gary Croft, Jermaine Wright, Marcus Stewart, John McGreal, and got promoted. And Kieran would argue he's a better player than all of them, but he wouldn't beat them in a 4-in-1. So sometimes, as Conor's saying, if El Khanous is going to give you 10 goals, 10 assists, can you just get that out of 2 players?
I think as well, when you're looking at Leicester, obviously they've got the young lad Monga coming through, haven't they? Who looks like a real talent.
Fatawu, mate. I forgot about him. Yeah.
This is
it's the players they've kept almost.
It's I mean, it's a blessing in disguise, really, that he was out in the Premier League.
Did you forget about him? Yeah.
So you just forget about him.
And no one's going to take him.
No one's going to take him.
They're going to let him rehabilitate in the Championship.
Yeah, but it's almost like the Iron Robin effect as well when he's cutting in on that left hand side, where it's what he's going to do every single time. But as we've seen with the goals so far, which I mean, he's got a highlight reel already, hasn't he? In this month, he looks outrageously good, and for me, he's evidently going to be the best player in the Championship this season. He just looks. It looks like with an ACL injury, sometimes you can come back, and it can take you a while with that recovery process. He's come back, and he.
Interesting to see as well. I thought Cifuentes quite humble with his tactics against Birmingham, playing at home against a promoted team, and he's quite narrow, quite tight, quite compact. Won the game.
Counter-attack, isn't it?
That's all that matters. Ultimately got the 3 points. As I mentioned earlier, last week we did do a top 10 transfers of the summer, but neither of you two were on. So I want to get your thoughts on the best Championship signing of the window, Ben.
Well, I want to raise Conor's highlight reel for Fatawu. Iran Kunda, the same free kick twice, absolutely brilliant. I think you mentioned him last week. So let's go with Carlton Morris, who is an absolute you-know-what house, but when you've got him on your team, fantastic. I think he scored he scored 4 for 4, hasn't he? And he's just at the right age, the right price. Looks like a good fit with him and John Eustace, and I think he's going to score a lot of goals, moan at a lot of refs, and be very effective for Derby County this season.
We've seen it so far with Carlton Morris, haven't we, Conor? What have you got down?
I've got Bright Say Samuel. Yeah, I think on that right-hand side, he's going to be so effective. I think he's a Premier League player. I've mentioned previously.
At right back,
Yeah. I think previously we've spoken about maybe sustenance for Premier League teams. I know Jaffet Tanganga was bowled around for maybe a Burnley or a Leeds United signing as sustenance, or maybe even starting. I think Asai Samuel is a profile of player of which Birmingham have brought in and thought this will work in the Premier League. This is a long-term signing, and I think you've seen it already in the Championship. I think he looks excellent.
Yeah, a free transfer as well, wasn't he?
Free transfer.
I mean, and they're going to get a lot of possession, and sometimes the right back is the player that makes the most passes in a team that gets a load of possession, and he's very comfortable on the ball. And yeah, I saw his first game there and slotted straight in, and
Well, we were saying before, he's not really a right back, is he?
No, but he looks very good as one, doesn't he? Yeah.
He's working perfectly so far. Really excited to see how he gets on this season. But as always with these international breaks, we like to kind of take stock of what we've seen so far. So we're going to have a look at a few categories in the Championship. And Conor, I want to come to you and get your biggest winners of the Championship so far. We're only 4 games in. But who have you liked?
Yeah, I've really liked Borough. I think when you're looking at it from back to front, they've kept, I believe it's 3 clean sheets, isn't it? They look strong. They've actually Opta had them at the toughest start as well this season.
Someone said they'd lose their first 4 games.
Oh, did you?
Somehow I'm still on the show.
Go on, Simon.
Get him on.
Sorry, Rob Edwards. I didn't mean it.
But it is, isn't it? None of us knew what this transition would be like with Rob Edwards coming into it. We were speaking beforehand of going from a Carrick system to a Rob Edwards system. He had to find not only that. They didn't just have to find that systematic change. They had to find players that would fit into that. Your Matt Target and your Callum Britton will aid that, of course. But it was the Rob Edwards effect, wasn't it? Was he going to have that mojo back? Was he going to get back to, sort of motivated Rob Edwards? And it feels like he's back to that. I looked at a couple of interviews before coming in on I think it was Borough TV. Big smile on his face, and he looks like he's ready to hit the ground running again. Obviously after the international break, they've had a tough start, a really good window for me. I think Alan Brown, we're talking a little bit beforehand, I think that's a really good addition. Back end of the season, Calisan as well looks quick, so we'll wait and see how that one plans out as well. And obviously Strelak, we've mentioned Naipan. It looks like they've had a really good window when it comes to recruitment, and I think that midfield of Hackney and Aidan Morris,
very good.
is probably the best they've had since Leadbitter and Adam Clayton. And I would argue that the 2 that they've got now in Hackney and Morris are better because they're better going forward. Keeping hold of Aidan Hackney is absolutely massive, and Aidan Morris had a brilliant start as well. So they've got a lot of what I think could do really well this season.
Circus coming back for Hackney in January.
The Ipswich circus, or
that ship has sailed. I'm talking about the Tottenham or West Ham or whoever. Someone will come for him, won't they? Again, surely.
It's panic stations, isn't it? It's what happens at that stage of which
he's
maybe
playing very well as well, isn't he?
Injuries, and he can make the step up. Hackney can make the step up. I think Morris can make the step up as well. They've got a lot of potential in that team.
It's almost where Borough are in the league table. If we get to January at that point, if they're in the top 6 or first and second, he's probably just going to stay put, isn't he?
What can you reject though? If big clubs coming in with massive money, what can you?
But if you're Steve Gibson and you can see the promotion and we're talking nearly 200 million now if you add your 2 years parachute payments onto you, and you're the close to the line, it's going to be no.
I mean, how much did Ipswich put in for him? Was it 18-20 million?
It was going up to something
I wonder what the limit would be where he'd think to himself, nah, I can't turn this down. I wonder what that would be.
See.
If promotion was on the horizon.
The other point to make on Borough, by the way, is not just Rob Edwards' kind of back three, which you saw at Forest Green Rovers working well, but the impact that Adi Vivash has had there as assistant manager. He did a job basically tactically at Borough in the playoffs to take Coventry to the playoff final with a back three. You mentioned 3 clean sheets already. I think it's all working quite nicely there in terms of behind the scenes as well. Ben, for you, biggest winners so far, please.
Well, you can't. It's annoying because we're just going for the top 2, but you can't ignore West Brom, given that we knew nothing of Ryan Mason as a manager, of being in charge of a team, and I've had some gentle ribbing from West Brom fans of being an Ipswich fan here. Oh, thanks. You've taken our back 4 from a couple of years ago and given us some money, and we've buffed all that up now with Phillips has been playing well, hasn't he? Campbell moved across to right back, didn't he? I wonder how keenly they'll feel the loss of Fellows, who's an excellent player. I thought 10 million was a good deal that for Southampton, but great start for West Brom. I think we're going to come on to Bristol City, but that was one I did think, what happens after a team punches above their weight, gets in the playoffs, and the manager goes, best players go, nosedive. Nope. Started well.
It's almost like I wrote down, didn't I? But continuity for the teams in the top half. I think we've got Leicester and Birmingham. The rest of the top half are all teams that are in the Championship last season, and teams like Coventry, Portsmouth are in and around it. Preston as well, a bit of a change, but same manager. It's almost like continuity is winning the early stage of the season, Conor.
Yeah, it feels like that. I mean, obviously the outlier. I mean, I've just been waxing lyrical about Borough, haven't I? And I guess there's a bit of an outlier there when it comes to Edwards coming in and
4 of the top 6 have got new managers, but then you can argue there's continuity in the squad.
That's why.
There you go. Yeah.
They're not in the top 10 transfers where it's been Southampton, Ipswich, Birmingham, Wrexham. It's almost like steady on, especially with Bristol City. And you've just steady. You've changed the manager.
Yeah.
But the players are still there, and not much has changed to stop them getting results.
I think the impressive thing about Bristol City is, and we don't want to go too far down that road, but it's the change of system as well, the change of manager.
Yeah.
Look at Gerhard Struber in comparison to a Liam Manning. It's completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different. Man orientation, press, whereas Manning is it's a slowish build-up, isn't it? It's trying to find the pockets, it's heavy possession base. So the fact that they've adapted to that's been pretty impressive.
Still think they're benefiting from the fact that when you looked at the numbers last year, it wasn't funneled through like 1 or 2 players that would obviously just be the sum of the parts, and then Mehmeti and Twine both start the season well. You keep Jason Knight, you add your Preston in. I still find it strange you can have a team that draws 0-0 and wins 4-2 in the first 4 games. I'm struggling to get my head around that. But we said Struber was going to be fun. Struber is fun.
Absolutely. I think one of the notable points as well of the Championship this season is that these continuity teams, let's call them that, the teams that weren't relegated or promoted, have kept hold of some of the best players in the Championship. We talk about Hackney at Borough, we talk about Josh Sargent staying at Norwich, we talk about Rodoni staying at Cov. These players can be some of the best players in the league, and for me it just opens the door to a wide range of possibilities of what they could achieve.
Well, and it makes a mockery again of the parachute payment system, because if you look, the teams that have sold their better players are the teams with parachute payments, and a Hackney and a Sargent and a Rodoni, none of those teams are in the position that an Ipswich and a Southampton and a Leicester and a Sheffield United. I don't know if they've kept Hamer, but we've seen the other 2 lads who we thought were going to go. So I'm hoping this is a step towards stability for the clubs that are in the Championship, but obviously the ridiculous churn of the parachute teams has not changed. But truth will always out on the pitch, and if these teams starting to go above them and score more points than them, then hopefully we'll get some sanity. I can dream.
It's almost what Ben touched upon earlier, though. If it's not worth selling a Josh Sargent for 10 to 15 million when he is going to take you so much closer to the big 200 million prize of promotion, is it?
Yeah, I guess with Norwich you see Marcelino Nunes going and you think maybe that is the Josh Sargent.
Sainz as
well got to Porto, didn't they? So yeah, maybe that is the replacement. Who knows in terms of monetary input, but yeah, keeping hold of Sargent and bringing in Kvisgaard. I think everyone thought that Kvisgaard was going to come from Bromby and Sargent was then going to go, and it made a lot of sense, didn't it? But I know it sounds ridiculous, but there's been a lot of noise about Hadji Wright at the beginning of the season, hasn't there? In terms of Rodoni saying, can you get Hadji Wright in his favoured position, fit week in, week out? Just speaking about those teams in particular, Kvisgaard coming in and being there with Sargent as well, and then Borough developing, having a brilliant window as well. Like Ben said, hopefully it's becoming a little bit more of an equal playing field. We're just speaking a little bit off air there as well about Ipswich having 14 exits and 11 incoming. Maybe the recently relegated teams are going to struggle a bit this season, who knows?
Talking of strugglers, biggest losers so far, and it's worth caveating, we're only 4 games in. They can turn their season around, but we have to have a little look at the table across the international break. Ben, obvious one?
Well, I'll give you Friday night's game. Ipswich Town versus Sheffield United. The idea that those two were both going to be in the bottom 5 was a fanciful one.
Relegation battle.
Relegation six-pointer early in the season. Yeah, you can't look past Sheffield United, but I mean, Conor, I know you're fairly confident now that they've kind of remedied it, but do you subscribe to the idea that we were hearing about AI transfer signings and young players coming in from Poland and Bulgaria? No, I want Danny Ings, I want Ben Mee, I want Japhet Tanganga, who was really good already in the Championship. Have they?
And they wanted Redmond as well.
There you go.
Didn't quite work out.
Have they kind of gone, oh...
Maybe they've thrown out their chat GPT and just loaded up Football Manager 2018 or something and just been like, hey, Danny Ings is good, isn't he?
Dare I say a gruff Yorkshireman who might have been managing them last year might have got the best out of those type of players who'd have signed. But we've been down this road many times before. But no, Sheffield United have to be the biggest losers, and it's so pronounced because it's 0 points as well.
Anyone for you, Conor, aside from the Blades?
No, I was going to jump in. Both feet with the Blades. I really was. But obviously, the caveat is Ipswich. It's very early on, isn't it? So, yeah, to be too critical it feels a little bit too harsh. But I think the positive thing, and look, we've touched on Sheffield United just a little bit, but it feels like they've got the building blocks now. Mark McGuinness coming in, Tanganga there. I think Ben Mee's a terrific signing. So once again, comes back to that conversation we're having a little bit early on about Selles has to get the back. Another one, keeping hold of Gossamer. Huge. If you can keep Tyrese Campbell fit. It's a very, very good Championship side. So currently, you have to say they're the biggest losers because of that squad. 0 wins in 4, not good enough.
Absolutely. We're going to come down to the surprise packages of the season. Ben, aside from the top 2, who have you looked at and thought, well, they've caught me out a bit?
Well, already mentioned Bristol City because my theories of how the football hierarchy works had them regressing to the mean. I mean, you've got to then look at Pompey and Preston in 8th and 9th, and Preston have concentrated their points in 2 brilliant home wins, one against Ipswich and one against Leicester. I do come back to your continuity question. Is continuity working? Yes, Preston went early in the window. Will we be talking about continuity working in November as opposed to August? Probably not. But when it comes to Pompey, a lot of good signs, isn't it? With the stability of a very good young manager, you've got the big home form tick, and it's a hashtag hard place to go on a Tuesday night to go to Fratton. Recruited well, and where are we looking now with a Bishop, Murphy, Chaplin, which makes me cry a little bit, and Segacic, who started well. It's a good front 4. Even Andre Dele is playing well. You can still find him, but there's lots of ticks in the Pompey box for a good season. If, as you've kind of suggested, well, if you just improve a little bit, other teams get worse a lot a bit. You're above them, and that's what Pompey are aiming for.
Yeah, very good manager as well. I think a manager who's, we're going to get onto the derby in a bit, aren't we? Which I think we're all very excited for. But a manager who can change systems, can adapt, has got a very heavy pressing style as well, but can be compact and can make them difficult to beat. I really like Mousinho, top coach at this level. So Pompey have been a surprise, definitely. Swansea, I don't think they're that much of a surprise. I like the signing, we just mentioned it off air, a little bit of Adam Eder. I think they've made smart signings this winter, but I think you've got to look at Stoke, haven't you? You've got to look at Stoke. 3 wins out of 4, some tough games in there as well. Not conceded many goals, 3 conceded. The big test is obviously coming this weekend against Birmingham City. The big test came against West Bromwich Albion, didn't it? So, yeah, they're going to come around the corner very quick, these tough championship tests.
And Sorba Thomas, also worth mentioning as one of the signings of the summer, because he has been unbelievable so far for Stoke. Creativity, great crosses into the box, just a wonderful football to watch.
Yeah, some great finishes as well. Some great finishes, and it's good for him really, because I think he's always been through part of his career of which you're thinking, can he make it as a sort of one of the top level championship sides? Can that work? And are Stoke going to be that this season? Who knows? But he's showing a real variety in his play, which is good to see.
Are we expecting, Ben, the parachute teams that we've discussed so widely already, are we expecting now the window's closed and they've got their squad, them to start to climb the table and get wins together, as we saw over the last couple of seasons?
Do Football League tables correlate historically with who has and spends the most money? Yes, then probably we do, don't we? It's been, as you say, very pronounced. I keep watching Will Steele all summer looking fed up being asked about Fernandes and Diblin, and that went right to the end of the window. Obviously, Ipswich with Hutchinson, that was a problem. Leicester, you spoke about, El Canouse, another. So there have been mitigating factors against the poor little parachute teams with the best players and the most money. We just go to Exhibit A, don't we, which is Russ Martin, and they got tanked, didn't they, by Sunderland. They got hit 5, didn't they? Ipswich beat them, and they had a win against Leeds, didn't they, and went 23 unbeaten. And we have this daft system where essentially the season starts now for the parachute teams, doesn't it? Because the squad's actually ready. They've had, you say they've had 2 weeks on the grass. They haven't, because they've got so many international players. And Kieran McKenna was saying, well, everyone's back on Wednesday and you're playing on Friday night. So a couple of sessions before the next game. But you would expect, in the predictable sense of the word, that they will, if you froze the season now at game 5, would I be surprised if they were all pushing 1.8, 1.9, 2 points per game for the next few months? No. But one of them can mess it up. Happens most seasons, doesn't it? One kind of makes a mess of it. Well, that's the real outlier. But, you can see one struggle. So
I think it's come at a good time as well. I think it's come at a good time for Ipswich. Ipswich drastically needed that goal, didn't they, in the last minute? Jack Clark, they needed it. But I think it's come at a really good point for Sheffield United as well. Obviously, it's post-transfer window. All these players have come in. And like Ben quite rightly said, there were internationals there, but there will be still bodies at the camp, especially when, once again, looking at Sheffield United and Tanganga, Ben Mee, etc. So I think it's come at a really, really good time right now. Probably a team that didn't want it to come was Leicester City. But aside from that, you're kind of looking at it and thinking, yeah, these teams need it at this point. And like Ben said, is this going to be the stage where they all get back? And you think, because there could easily just be runs now, from these teams. And let's not veer away from the fact that these are recently relegated teams with mass amount of money.
And you do that thing, don't you? If you support a team that doesn't have, that advantage, where you're looking at the bench, not even the first 11, the bench of these teams, and a lot of those players would be regulars, wouldn't they, in most of the other teams?
It's just the impact, isn't it? Last 15, 20 minutes of it. And it's top down, isn't it? It's Premier League, and then obviously you go to the Championships, the trickle-down effect, but you look at the last 15, 20 minutes and what they can bring on.
It's the 5 subs thing as well.
Yeah,
it's
5
just
subs
weights in favour of the bigger, better teams.
And I guess you're looking at, I know this is, going to something else here, but then you're looking at Birmingham and Wrexham maybe closing that gap in terms of what they've spent and that quality, and those 5 subs off the bench as well. So it makes it a little bit more interesting, doesn't it?
Ben, could you touch on quickly, because you mentioned it earlier, the eye-catching stat I saw was 14 exits and 11 arrivals at Ipswich Town this summer. I was convinced they'd do really well because of said continuity, the only relegated team with the same manager in charge as last season. It's been a bit wild, hasn't it? A bit of a wild summer. Yeah,
and it feels like the third wild summer in about 5 years at Ipswich, because there was one with the change of ownership in League One. Obviously, the reason for all of this, and the answer to your question, is accelerated progress in the sense of a double promotion. Just whatever. It's lovely to have a 5-year plan and have to tear it up because you did it in 2 years, but given the chasms that we always talk about, then how do you cope with running any business where your turnover literally multiplies by 10 overnight when you didn't expect it to. So it's going to be fascinating. On the one hand, I'll refer you to my last answer about in football, tale as old as time, the teams with the most money correlate with the high league positions. But I'll also say in League One, Ipswich had the most money, and they had Kieran McKenna, and they had a good squad. And they kind of bullied their way a little bit through the first half of the season and then were amazing at the back end of the season. But the point I'm trying to make is you're at round 32 by that point, and are Middlesbrough and West Brom and these teams that we've been praising going to give Kieran McKenna a 32 round, stay of execution to get his pattern of play sorted? But it's the best squad Ipswich have had in 2 decades, probably.
Also worth noting, they didn't win the league in League One, did they? Because of Plymouth Argyle, and it was a massive points tale. So we'll have to wait and see on that.
I'll take second, mate. Don't worry about that.
Producer Seb's just waved a sign at me, Conor. So this is a curveball for you. Apparently, Dele Alli has been linked with a move to Wrexham. Of course, it's Wrexham. Give me a reaction on that.
I mean, look, I can't profess to know his injury record. I would, as in the last year or so, I would question it. I was actually doing something this morning on Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain being linked with 3 or 4 different Premier League clubs.
You know, it's desperate when you're looking at the free agents list.
Free agent market, isn't it? Yeah. So yes, it would be. I mean, it would be an outrageous signing, but I'd love to see what wage structure is. Obviously now Wrexham are in the PSR complications. That would be interesting to see. Obviously now they're in the Championship. But profile wise, Americans in charge who are normally a bit vavavoom, so Dele Alli would definitely fit that criteria, wouldn't it?
Dele Alli, vavavoom, I absolutely love it. Next up, we're going to talk about the players, individuals that have stood out for us so far. Ben, I'll come to you first on this one. Individuals that have impressed.
Galbraith for Swansea. He's one that the Swans fans have mentioned, and Conor was sort of talking about, is it a massive surprise given how they ended last season that they're playing well? I said Segacic for Pompey. That's been a good sign. He's hit the ground running. For Tawu, we've already mentioned, haven't we? And I'll give a shout out to Nat Phillips, who's kind of one of these players at an elite club who go on loan, bounce back and forth, and then you realise they're 27. Mm-hmm. And it's like, right, come on, lad, go and lead a team, and maybe lead a team to promotion the way West Brom have started.
Yeah, plays like a 27-year-old in the nicest way. He's
Yeah.
very experienced, very composed, obviously a big lad, does really well. What about you, Conor?
Loved Isaac Price, obviously got on the international stage and doing it again as well. Looks, albeit, one of those players who in January West Brom might get a knock at the door.
Should have mentioned that when I was talking about fellows, that they've already got the next one, haven't they?
Of course, yeah. So great product line there. Looks excellent. I think he'd work in all of the 3 positions in and behind the striker. Looks very fluid, good on both feet. So I've really liked the look of him. Josh Sargent again, ole. I mean, I was saying,
give me a number. How many does he score?
It's 20 again, isn't it? It's 20 again. It just feels
low, isn't it?
It is.
30.
He's factoring in the Sargent injury that happens every year.
He has to have Christmas off for a month.
Yeah.
So.
I always find it bizarre with Sargent how he's so poor for the US as well. His record for the US, it just isn't great in comparison to Norwich. For Norwich, he's absolutely prolific. I'm always on with Sargent as well, who's saying I'm not sure he can make that Premier League grade, but I think he's going to make me eat my words again. It's another 5 goals already. He's so consistent, isn't he? So strong, so athletic. I don't know. Maybe this is the season again where he breaks his own
clicks for some players. They get to a point where they just get it, don't they? And he seems to have reached that point, doesn't he?
Yeah, and then I'd throw in Aidan Morris as well, who I think a lot of the limelight is in and around Hayden Hackney. I think Morris has been superb so far for Borough.
I'll also throw in Victor Torp as I have to talk about Coventry play. What is in my
You somehow always get Coventry into these showruns, don't you?
Osmite, yes,
Preston, who's had some interesting headlines and is playing very well.
Yes, absolutely. Emil Rees as well, who I think's doing an all right job at Bristol City. But Victor Torp's got 4 goals from 7 shots on target. He's actually the player in Europe who's overperforming his XG more than anyone else because he's just scoring absolute bangers. And Conor, Ben Sheaf, out of the club. Victor Torp seems like a pretty decent replacement.
Well, it's perfect, isn't it, for you, for Cov? You know, obviously reaping the rewards of, was it 6-7 million quid for Ben Sheaf, I think it was.
Yeah.
Bringing that sort of money in and having
Disney money.
There you go.
Disney tax in the Championship.
You got it with Broadhead, didn't you?
Thank you very much.
So but he looks seven shots and 4 goals, is it? I mean, it's not bad. It's not too bad, is it, for a centre midfielder?
Sustainable.
So.
Who cares about sustainability, Ben? Let me have some fun.
We do.
And then just a couple of players maybe who have disappointed so far. I want to see a bit more from. I've picked out Danny Ward here because I genuinely think Arthur Nkonkwo's probably a better goalkeeper than him. I think the injury he got in the last game might actually work out in Wrexham's favour in the long term, given Arthur Nkonkwo's grown through the leagues.
It was good for them.
It's been brilliant for them.
It was good for them in the lower divisions.
Yeah. So it's slightly strange to me that they've not given him a chance. Hopefully he'll get that chance. It's more about a Nkonkwo goal getting that chance rather than me hammering Danny Ward here. What about you, Ben?
Oh God, you want me to dig out players?
Yeah, if you could just dig a player out 4 games into the season, we can then clip that up and put it out on social media.
Oh crikey, I can't do it. Conor McGilligan.
I would probably go, and it's not due to him. I think it's a systematic change, and I'll throw to Ben after this as well. I think it's Leif Davis.
Okay, interesting.
But it feels, obviously Ben will be the expert here, but it feels like obviously McKenna's maybe trying to get the best out of Jack Clark and Jayden Philogene, and potentially that's where you're looking at Leif Davis having to invert a little bit and be a little bit more compact. If that is the case for Ipswich going forward this season, especially with Hurst up top, and you know we saw how unbelievable when it came to deep lying crosses and just getting up and down, overlaps, underlaps in their previous championship season. I think it's a massive mistake. I think that is one of your biggest weapons with how good he is delivery wise. As I say, his fitness up and down that left hand side. If he has been asked to do an inverted role to help Philogene and Clark, is that a problem potentially?
The relationship with Broadhead, and you'll know more about this than me, but it was amazing. Broadhead almost joined in up front, and Leif Davis played on the left wing almost. He was that attacking. Is it changed?
Well, if I can make a highfalutin argument that if Ipswich were to be promoted this season, there's a lot of criticism about that hole down the left-hand side, that an inverted left-back is closer to their defensive responsibilities for that part of the game than one that's basically, as you rightly point out, a winger. He can play left back. Look at his heat maps. He had to get back in position, didn't he? But missed good old Massimo Luongo coming out there and covering behind him. But I think it's going to be fascinating. And one thing I like about it, though, Conor, is it does show some evolution in McKenna, doesn't it? That okay, this worked before, but we're tweaking and we've invested a shed load of money in a couple of wingers that they need a return on. So, yeah, it'd be a fascinating one but a good shout out, actually, one to watch on it.
It's time now for us to look forward to some games this weekend because football is back, and of course there's a South Coast derby coming this weekend on Sunday, but we're going to save our preview for that one for an extended one on the Sportsman Untitled Extra, which will be with you on Friday. We're going to look at 3 other games, starting with the big one on Friday night, Ipswich versus Sheffield United. Have we mentioned this game enough yet? Ben, quickly, give us your Ipswich take on this before we come to Sheffield United.
Oh, just complete terror, just the team is not clicking and are kind of hapless at the moment,
It's already must-win territory, Ben.
Of course it is, yeah, of course it is. But no, you know when a team just hasn't quite got their mojo, they haven't got the intangibles, the confidence, the resilience, all of those things.
Which team are you talking about here, Ipswich or Sheffield United? Because I'm
talking about Ipswich, where just every mistake you're at that point where every little silly mistake is a goal against you, and that's not bad luck. That's a lack of resilience often. So, yeah, this is one where both teams will be just trying their hardest to not mess it up, and I hope that doesn't make it a dour spectacle if we're in try not to lose territory. But they both need a win. We're round 5. We're into September now, and I think we go 3-game week after this, do we? The first one's soon, certainly, isn't it? And you need to get going and get on your bike, and you can see both teams not winning this game and it being an unhelpful draw, can't you?
There's going to be a lot of debuts and exciting new players to potentially look at. Conor, how do you see this one going from...
Draw. written all over it. I think.
Cheers, mate.
I think move on. I think Selles is going into it. I do feel quite. Passionately is the wrong word, but I do feel like there's got to be some sort of performance here, because a lot of players were still through the door in that Borough game. Yes, you were still in the midst of the transfer window. Players came in after that, Ben Mee, etc. But I think with the temperature of Sheffield United fans now, naturally Chris Wilder always been on the hill just waving back, saying, I'm here. But obviously I don't think that'll happen, but still there is no excuses, it feels like, anymore when it comes to Sayers. I think he's got to get a result, and I think getting a result at Ipswich is maybe just putting as many men behind the ball as possible and just thinking our next home game we'll look to attack.
I think they're going to do something. I think they might win this game. Which
been
is
influenced by me. The away wins.
I don't know. You look at the squad on paper and you look at the fact that the players seem to, I said this last time on the show, they seem to be quite positive about Selles, the players themselves, and respond fairly well to him. I just think they might cause a bit of a shock here and nick an away win. I'm going to go 1-0 Sheffield United. What are you going?
I don't know if it'd be a shock. I think right now, player for player, you look at Sheffield United's squad, I'd say there's an argument that it's as good as Ipswich's squad right now. So it's going to be a really good game. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, Sayers doesn't do what I've said he's going to do and just go and stink out the place. But I'm going to go with a 0-0.
Ben, can I get a score prediction from
in the
you?
interest of balance, I better go for a home win then.
Absolutely.
So I'll go 2-1 Ipswich.
Excellent stuff. Next up, we're going to look at Oxford versus Leicester. Oxford, a bit of a slow start to the season. Leicester, actually pretty good on pitch from 3 wins so far. This is Saturday, 12:30. A word on Oxford, Ben, if you don't mind, because they struggled a little bit statistically last season, but the Gary Rowett factor kept them up.
Yeah, there was we had those weird stats where they were either like in playoff form or the second best team in the league or something, or they were awful and 24th in whatever form table we brought up. It's not what you want to see when you're losing. They lose at home to Pompey on the first week. I think
they drew at home with Cov last time out 2-2. Did quite
yeah,
well,
I mean that's an improvement given how Coventry have been smashing the goals in as well, haven't they? So
I believe they've lost every game so far by 1 goal until the 2-2 draw. So again, this is what we expect from Gary Rowett's teams. They're certainly in games. Is that going to lead to enough points?
But Cifuentes has already proven he's a clever so-and-so, isn't he? And he's he'll set up very specifically, and you can really see this being a low-scoring Leicester win, can't you?
As with probably many Leicester games this season. That would make it, if they get it, 4 wins out of 5 for Leicester. Do you think they're going to win this one?
I do, yeah. I can see. I agree with Ben. Is it going to be another Abdul / Ian Robben Fatawu winner off that side? I'm not sure, but it is. I think Leicester look exciting. I think it's one of those where you feel like they've got enough as well to sustain the race. As I say, impending nothing happens, which obviously we've spoken about off air. But 1-0 win for Leicester for me for this one.
Yeah, I'll go 2-0 Leicester as well. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, can I double up?
Absolutely.
Take a 1-0.
Cool, Scan. The final game we're going to look at on this show is Stoke versus Birmingham. Conor, I'll come to you here because quite high on both of these teams, actually, quite positive on both of them. Close game expected?
Yeah. I've still got a sneaky feeling Birmingham are going to win this one. I think obviously they're getting. I just really like what I've seen with them so far. I love Awata in the midfield. I think him and Pike in that midfield just look excellent.
I thought they were poor though. I know Stansfield wasn't playing. They were poor away at Leicester, and I know Cifuentes did a bit of a job on them.
Yeah,
but I just expected a little bit more, and this is almost a big test again in another away game.
It's a huge test. Yeah, you are right. It's. If they're to be in that top 6, a lot of people are still prefacing that they're going to be in that top 2. You really have to go to Stoke and win. Leicester's always going to be a bit of an uphill task because of the natural ability they've got. Calibre in the final third as well. Ben quite rightly mentioned as well Cifuentes and making them compact. I don't think Leicester were unbelievable in that game, but they were compact and they were very good on the transition. I don't think Stoke are going to pose that threat, and I think Birmingham will just have a little bit too much. So for this one, I'm going to go with I'm going to get hammered for this, aren't I? Sorry, Stoke fans, but I'm going to go with the Stoke 0, Birmingham 2.
Okay, Ben, how do you see this one going?
Really interested because what did Chris Davies learn from being in the Championship against a team with a good squad? He didn't have that in League One. He had a load of teams park 10 players behind the ball and try and stop and win. That's not what Leicester did. And I do agree, game state completely went against Birmingham in that one, didn't they? Where it couldn't have gone more perfect. Right, you're going to score early, give them the ball, and then you're going to get the benefit of the one dodgy decision. That's going to go your way. And then the player who maybe could have got red carded is going to score the second goal. And because that's what always happens. So be really interested to see what Davies has learned. I dare say he'll come out in his presser and say, no, we have our process. We're going to do exactly what we've always done, and we're going to go to win the game. But you'll know better than most. Mark Robins is a manager who will be able to replicate something similar to what Cifuentes does. So I'll sit on the fence, but we'll go for a fun one. We'll go for a Desmond.
I think as well, just adding to that as well, I think you were right in the Leicester game. I think they were a little bit passive. I think what we know from Chris Davies is, especially with his time in League One for Birmingham, he's very aggressive, wasn't he, in terms of how tenacious they were on a press. If they're able to do that against Stoke, I think we can't get sort of... we're looking at the table now and we're seeing Leicester City right next to Stoke. Leicester City calibre and quality-wise are on a different level to Stoke. So I think if he'd,
But you take my point, Conor. They're up against teams now that can give them the ball and beat them. Do you know what I mean? That's what Birmingham got to face now, and it's not just going to be loads of possession, win the game, And you've mentioned Stoke have got quality and started brilliantly, haven't they? And they're at home, aren't they? Yeah, and they've got the home advantage as well.
I think it's a really interesting one because narratives will be drawn from this game. First game out after the international break. If Birmingham lose, people are going to massively change their opinions.
Stoke have got to respond as well.
And Stoke have got to respond as well. We're going to finish off by doing our fourfold for the Saturday 3 p.m. games in the Championship. We've each picked a team. I've picked two. I'm going to start with Wrexham to beat QPR. A load of new signings. Ben Sheaf, Lewis O'Brien, Kiefer Moore's scoring loads and loads of goals. So I'm going to back them to beat a QPR side who did respond quite well by beating Charlton, but they just look a bit dodgy defensively right now. Conor, who have you gone for, mate?
Yep, unsurprisingly, they've gone for Birmingham away at Stoke. I think they're just going to be a little bit too strong for me. I think it's going to be a response from Chris Davies' side. I think they've got enough quality, maybe just lacking a little bit of creativity at points, and could have addressed that in the window. However, I think they'll have enough to beat Stoke City.
Yeah, we've covered that one nicely. Ben, who have you gone for?
I've gone for West Brom to beat Derby. I had West Brom, didn't I, in the the big winners segment of the show. And even if Derby have had 2 weeks now to help with the injury crisis, that's not gonna transpire to results on the pitch for another few weeks more. So let's go for West Brom to continue.
Absolutely. And to round things off, I've gone for Watford to beat Blackburn. Been quite impressed with Watford so far this season, and Blackburn have just sold a lot of key players. Dom Hyam going, I think, is absolutely massive for them leaving to Wrexham. I think they might be a little bit weak defensively, so I'll back Watford to win that one as well. And that'll be up on Betfred, our fourfold for Saturday's 3 p.m. games. But that is it for this episode of The Sportsman Untitled. We'll be back next Monday to react to all the action and all of these games that we've just previewed. I can't wait for the football to be back. Ben, thank you very much for joining me. Conor, same to you. But that's all for this week's Sportsman Untitled. We'll see you next time.